Well, the St. Louis Cardinals should be moving on from Nolan Arenado in the next day, a couple days, weeks or so. But there's a couple other pivot points they can make regarding some players in their rotation and in their bullpen. And we also want to spend some time today reflecting on Paul Goldschmidt's career as a St. Louis Cardinal. Was it success? Was it disappointing? Something in between? We'll talk about all this and more on this episode, Deal on the Cards. Hey, welcome back to Deal on the Cards, where St. Louis Cardinals podcast go live twice or sometimes more a week. We also have Birds on the Farm with Kareem, which is a Kareem Hawk, which is a great prospect podcast. And so we hope you like and subscribe and just check out more of our Cardinals content. We're powered by Through and For Sports Cards and Collectibles, and I just want to thank them off the top today. They're located at 9640 Olive Boulevard in Olivet, open 10 to 5 Monday through Friday and 9 to 4 on Saturdays. They buy, sell, and trade all sports cards and Pokemon cards. They have the newest selections of packs, boxes, and single cards of local stars around the league. We just recorded live from there on Thursday for the charity live stream. And so they just been an awesome sponsor of the podcast. They were the reason we got to give away so many cool items. They have awesome cards like that Mason Wynn card that Andrew shows pretty often. I ripped this Randy Johnson and Ichiro card in the packs we opened while we were there. And they gifted me this Caleb Williams card. And then I got this Shelby Miller card. So anyways, pretty cool stuff there. If you're into collecting sports cards or other memorabilia, go check out Through and For Sports Cards and Collectibles. And we also want to thank one of our new partners, which is Underdog Sports. They're our favorite place to play fantasy games. You got to check out Pick'em. It's an easy way to play. You just pick 2 to 8 stats of your favorite players and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. You can earn 20 times your money by going 5 for 5. If that sounds like fun, sign up with our promo code CARDS to claim your first free Pick'em. And first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We can't wait to see your entries for Monday Night Football tomorrow. I have an entry going. I have Spencer Rattler throwing more than half an interception. Josh Jacobs going over on the 8 or higher on the 89.5 rushing yards, and Brandon McManus making more than 2.5 extra points. And so it's gonna be a cold game in Green Bay. I don't like the Saints in this game. Sorry, Caleb Noble. I know you're a Saints fan, but I do like Spencer Rattler throwing an interception, and then Josh Jacobs in the Packers offense. I'm a Bears fan, so it's not just Josh Jacobs glazing here. Controlling the game, scoring some touchdowns. And you can, and I got 3.33 or 3.4 times on the odds there. So definitely go check out Underdog, place a bet, whether it's what I did or something else. You can get a first time free Pick'em and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash if you use our code CARDS. So before we get into Nolan Arenado continuing to troll on Instagram, I don't know if you guys saw that. Liking some going to the Yankees comments and all that. Before we talk about some AL Central teams who have expressed interest in Steven Matz and Erick Fedde, before we talk about the fact that apparently the Diamondbacks have tried to pry Ryan Helsley away from the Cardinals, and the Blue Jays have shown interest as well. I want to circle back on what Andrew and I talked about yesterday, and it's Paul Goldschmidt. Obviously, he signed with the New York Yankees yesterday, but we didn't really talk about Goldschmidt's career with the Cardinals and overall how he should be remembered during his time in St. Louis. And I put out a tweet yesterday asking people for their favorite moments. And a lot of the comments were talking about some like the 2022 MVP season or the grand slam against the Blue Jays when he was like had one of the best months of like any player ever in the May of 2022. It was incredible. He had a couple 3 home run games. He had a 7 RBI game against the Brewers. 2019 NLDS, he was on fire. The 2020 wild card series against the Padres, he was great. Like there's a lot of really good moments in Paul Goldschmidt's career. And overall, he was really consistent. But then there are also people who would say my favorite moment was when he choked in the playoffs or when the Cardinals didn't win another series after 2019. Like there's some people that are really frustrated with how Paul Goldschmidt's tenure went in St. Louis. I personally think it's a vocal minority. But Sandy, like when you think about Paul Goldschmidt's time in St. Louis, how will you remember him?
Well, it's kind of hard because you're right. There is a legacy of like choking in the playoffs and not winning anything big. Goldie came to St. Louis, and I think a lot of Cardinals fans thought this is a championship piece, and it was. He was really great with the Cardinals. He made our infield defense so much better. He added so much depth to the Cardinals lineup. He's consistently been like an anchor in the lineup for the last 6 years. And that's something that we're really going to miss with him moving on, or 5 years, I guess. But I don't know. It is really hard. I don't want to say it's like a failure or anything. I guess like my favorite moment was right after Goldie joined the Cardinals. He had that 3-homer game in Milwaukee. And it was just like, yes, Paul Goldschmidt has arrived. Like he's a Cardinal. He's ready to terrorize the rest of this division. That was super fun for me. And then the 2019 NLDS will always be special to me. I was in Atlanta at the time of Game 5. So I was walking around in my Cardinals stuff, looking at people. Hilarious. Okay. Super fun.
I'll never forget. I was watching that game. I don't remember exactly where, or I do remember where it was, but just like they kept pouring it on in that first inning and being like, amazing. Oh my gosh, I cannot.
And then McCann retired afterwards. They literally drove him to retirement because that dropped third strike for the 10th run. Andrew and I were at the Blue Jays Grand Slam game together, I believe, which was
that was cool.
That was awesome.
I was at
lots of great moments.
I was at the Goldie 7 RBI game in 2019 where they had a slim lead over the Brewers and Cubs in the NL Central race at that time, and Goldie just poured it on. Waino had 6 shutout innings. They won 10-0 over the Brewers. His first game of the series at home, epic. Andrew, so Sandy, you'd say like you have a mostly positive experience with Goldschmidt.
I mean, obviously the 2022 playoff series against Philadelphia really sucked, but you can't just blame Goldschmidt for that. And it was a team-wide failure and a bullpen failure for Helsley at the end there. So I don't know. But yeah, I think overall a very positive experience. He won an MVP here. I still do think that I think he loved being part of this team. I think the Cardinals loved having Goldschmidt. I think the fans embraced him. I think it was a really positive 6 years.
Andrew, I think you have potentially a different opinion on this.
I mean, I think Paul Goldschmidt's a great player. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, and he's probably not going to wear a Cardinals hat in the Hall of Fame anymore because it just didn't go too well towards the end of it. But I feel like I'm a little bit more frustrated with how it went. I mean, obviously, the Cardinals didn't win a championship, and that's ultimately how I feel a lot of these players should be remembered because, like, there are franchises out there like the Angels and the Brewers who haven't won a lot. And like Mike Trout will be an Angels legend forever because he's one of the greatest players of all time. And he's probably never going to win a championship in Anaheim. Hopefully he does, but I don't know. Right. And it's not going to happen. And he'll forever be an Angels legend. And Christian Yelich will probably be a Brewers legend because he won an MVP and he came really close to another one. And that's kind of the bar for success for some of these other franchises. But you look at, like, on the other hand, like, Yankees fans, where Paul Goldschmidt is now, like Aaron Judge hasn't cemented himself into that status yet for a lot of them.
I don't think that's true. I think that
it is true. They discuss it all the time. Like I listen to a lot of John Boy Media podcasts, and they have this discussion like every week where it's like, is Aaron Judge a Yankee legend yet? What does Aaron Judge have to do?
They're not connected to reality because the Yankees haven't won a championship in 15 years. So, like, it's not easy. You don't just win titles like you used to when you dominated the sport because there were way less teams and you had a huge.
And I disagree with that. Like, I feel like Aaron Judge is a different caliber of player than Paul Goldschmidt. And I feel like
absolutely, he's going to be an inner circle Hall of Famer.
Anyone debating if Aaron Judge is Yankees legend just has too much time on their hands and has run out of topics to talk about. Like, Aaron Judge is clearly a Yankee. He's not.
I mean, I'm not saying that he's not because I'm not a Yankee
fan. Guys like that, but he's like at least the very bottom of like that elite Yankees players tier. In my opinion.
Judge is also a serial playoff joker, and that is pretty funny.
And that's more real than the Goldschmidt stuff. Like.
Judge's numbers in the playoffs are horrible. And also, like, just defensively, that one mistake will forever live in the head of Yankees fans, especially if they never win a World Series with Judge. But, I mean, like, Goldie's a great guy and class act on and off the field and won an MVP here. So I can't really, like, knock him for any of that, right? There's other players that maybe aren't class acts on the field that will be traded soon. But I'll definitely remember his career more fondly than some of the other players that were on the roster at this point, like for some of these rougher years. And like I feel like he's in like he's going to be a Cardinals Hall of Famer, and I think he deserves it. But there's a certain status that he will never reach as a Cardinal. Like there's a certain status that like even Matt Carpenter will have over him because Matt Carpenter was a small part of that 2011 team and had a couple of deeper playoff runs than him.
I think Carpenter, if Carpenter's ahead of people in the minds of Goldschmidt, it's because Carpenter was basically a career Cardinal. And it's because Carpenter had some, I mean, like, let's not take away from the fact he did some great years. Carpenter damn near won his own MVP in 2013. He had a great rookie season in 2012. Matt Carpenter was a really, really great player. And he also had another MVP near run in 2018 when he probably had the hottest stretch I've ever seen a Cardinals hitter.
Paul Goldschmidt is going to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but like his numbers should not be retired.
That's fine.
No, they won't retire his number.
Oh man.
And like there's just like a tier of Hall of Famer that like he won't be with the Cardinals, right? Like that, like it's very hard to reach, admittedly, but like it's just not like, I don't know. I don't think he necessarily, like, he had a great career in St. Louis, but I don't necessarily think he lived up to all the expectations because just the expectation here is different than in other franchises, right? He's an Arizona legend forever, and he never won there because Arizona, like, isn't that caliber franchise, and that's fine. But I think here we should expect a little bit more.
Man, I just can't. Like, the dude was a top 20 bat in all of baseball during his time with the Cardinals. Like I have even seen some of the comments in the chat being like he was good, not great. I'm like, what is great then? Being a top 5 player in all baseball, and otherwise you're just okay, you're just pretty good. Like, yeah,
I think I'm with that too. Is not greatness?
And also, like, when they traded for Paul Goldschmidt, was everyone like, this dude has to be a like Pujols Yachty type for him to be a success? Because clearly he wasn't that, and that's okay. Like, not everyone has to be an all-time legend to be a success story.
Is Matt Holliday an all-time legend?
No, and that's totally okay. Exactly. He's like a Cardinal Hall of Famer, and
Matt Holliday's a Cardinal legend. Like, we'll always
he won in 2011.
So, right? Like I would say, like, they're like legends in Cardinals is like Pujols, Yachty, Bob Gibson, Stan Musial, Hornsby.
I think Matt Holliday will forever be in a higher tier than Paul Goldschmidt because he has 2011.
I think you give championships, like, I don't say this lightly. I think you give championships more weight than they deserve.
But what is it like? No, like for the Cardinals, yeah. But like there's certain, like, if you're a Marlins legend, then yeah, you don't have to. I mean, I guess they have won 2 championships recently.
Won twice.
Why do we have to debate if he was a Cardinal legend or not? I don't think that's the debate here. The debate is,
I would put him
remember his time at St. Louis, and I think it was a major success. It doesn't. You don't have to.
I think for someone's time, especially
of all time, to be a success story.
For that caliber of player to be a success story, like, there are other guys that you can look at that are like, yeah, he exceeded. Like, Brendan Donovan will probably go down as like, oh yeah, he really exceeded expectations.
So is Mike Trout not a baseball legend because he didn't win a World Series?
No, but that's because he played on a bad team.
That doesn't. Goldschmidt played on a team that I think most people would consistently say wasn't actually a true World Series contender. Like, was 2020? Okay, so 2024.
Played on some mid teams.
Wait, should Goldschmidt have led them to a World Series in 2024? No. 2023? No.
Well, he's not Mike Trout either.
2020?
Mike Trout.
2021? Probably not. 2022 is the only year I think people could say the Cardinals had a real shot of winning a World Series, and even then, it was like, we think they could have maybe.
I feel like Mike Trout would have led this team a little deeper in a couple of these years.
Really? Because one of your knocks on Mike Trout is that he has less outfits than Dylan Moore.
He's one of the 15 most talented players in baseball history.
Agreed.
Okay, cool. That he would have been.
That's what I'm saying.
I agree. But that doesn't mean Paul Goldschmidt wasn't successful as a Cardinal because he was that top 50 player of all time during his time.
I think Matt Adams is a bigger Cardinal legend than Goldie because he.
Matt Adams,
dude! Oh my gosh, is Clayton Kershaw a Dodgers legend?
He's won 1.5 championships with them.
Yeah, so, and how much did he contribute to this championship?
Nothing.
None. But how much did he contribute to the championship in 2020?
Clayton Kershaw is an inner circle Hall of Famer.
Is Pete Kozma a bigger Cardinal legend because he led the comeback against the Nationals in the playoffs?
Is Nick Punto a bigger Cardinal legend because he was on the team in 2011?
Chambers, what's his name? I forget.
Adron Chambers.
Is he a bigger Cardinal legend because he
won
a World Series? Like, come on.
I just don't think it's fair to say like yeah, playoff success matters like some, but to me, it's icing on the cake for a career. Like,
not in this city.
I just don't.
And that's what the
fans are out of touch with reality. Like, if that's the case, then I don't think that's real.
Matt Adams, Nationals legend.
He was there when they got the first overall pick, so I don't know. Like, maybe he is. If Kareem was a Nationals fan,
can we, Andrew? Let me can we say Paul Goldschmidt's not a Cardinals legend, but
he had a great career. Yeah,
that story, and it been like we still are very
story? Like he was already a Hall of Famer before he got here, right?
I don't know about that.
I
do not know about
it.
That.
Yeah. Like right now, he's even a borderline Hall of Famer. It's
you
like
cannot say he was a Hall of Famer.
He's a guaranteed Hall of Famer. Is he
he's
first?
Not, I don't think he's a guaranteed right now. If he gets the 400 home run mark, which I think he will in the next year or two, like that will help a lot. But like
the MVP,
I think most of us expect him to be a Hall of Famer, but it's not like guaranteed yet.
I think Goldie coming here and winning an MVP is evidence of the fact that he was very successful. That's a big deal. It's really hard to win an MVP. In
Cody Bellinger won an MVP and like what like I don't know.
Oh yeah. And then you know how many guys haven't won MVPs? How many great players haven't won one? Like it's very hard. Only one player in each league gets it every year.
Jose Abreu won an MVP and then he was horrible after that.
In 2020. And Jose Abreu had a really good career before that. Like a very, very good career. Nolan Arenado has never won an MVP.
And he's a surefire Hall of Famer too, and his time in St. Louis was a failure. Like
I think it's a big deal that Goldschmidt won one. I think that was really big for his career. I think that's. Soto still doesn't have one. I think Soto will get one eventually.
He's not going to get one.
That's I think it's a thing to say about one of the best hitters we've ever seen. Who's only 26.
He hasn't gotten one yet, and like he's had
26.
I don't know if Andrew's going to change opinion on this, but I still my final stance is. Did we want a little bit more from Goldschmidt's time here? For sure. But that's also team-oriented success there. Like, are we going to blame the Cardinals' rotation flaws in 2023 on Paul Goldschmidt here? Are we going to blame their the trading away Rosarina?
I just don't think that
I just don't understand how he didn't win a World Series solely on him. Like that, he can't be successful because he didn't win a World Series here or make the World Series. It's like, okay, I think we can all agree there are a lot bigger issues than Paul Goldschmidt for the reason why they didn't. And also, trading for a star caliber player, like the fact that they got a star caliber player out of that trade is a big deal. Like, we'll go look at the Giancarlo Stanton trade for the Yankees. Like, okay, it's a weird example because he's had playoff success for them, but like, think about Anthony Rendon being signed, or like, there's just like all these big names that go places where it's like, oh, the expectation was sky high, and they completely flood.
Think about Pujols in Anaheim.
Yeah, and it's like Goldschmidt was awesome in St. Louis. I would say I'd probably give it an A during his time here because or maybe an A-, but I'd say an A, because you wish there was more that happened. And yes, the 2022 Philly series is a stain on his legacy, but it's also a 2-game sample size. Now, again, it's the playoffs, so you only get small sample sizes. So using that argument every time.
It's not if Ryan Helsley doesn't blow that save though, catastrophically, the Cardinals get a third game.
And I'm pretty confident that I'm pretty sure Goldie's OPS in the playoffs of the Cardinals is over 800.
So he was so good in 2019.
Yeah, so he's had some bad moments, and he also was really good in the Padres series. I think he had a 1300 OPS in that 2 or 3 games. But I would say and this is a good point from Cody. I think if we debated Arenado's legacy, which let's wait to do that till he's traded, I think that is where we're gonna have a lot wider range of experiences. I think there's a lot more holes to poke in his legacy. I just think it's a really unfair to say Goldie's legacy boils down to the fact he didn't win anything. And it's fine. Some people that's their main thing. But then I'm like, okay, so do you think Matt Adams is more important? Do you think Pete Cosmo's more important, Danny Descalso, because that's just
and are you going to discount Ray Langford? That was a great point. Ray Langford was a great Cardinal. You can't discount that.
Yep.
Did Kurt Flood ever win with the Cardinals?
I don't think so.
You can't discount he's not a Cardinal legend all time or anything, but he was a great player.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Anyways, I agree, Andrew. I think if you weren't I don't know. I feel like you're a little pessimistic on Goldie, honest. I mean, I think that's why we're debating. If you took a more positive tone, I think we would all be talking about that. It's really a shame that he didn't come through the postseason, and that is a big deal. And the reason I'm not highlighting it is because I'm just how are you making that the thing? I think it's a part of the thing, but it's not. It shouldn't define him.
Ted Simmons.
I don't think it's defined. I said that he was a great player, and that I think that
But you are hesitant to call him a success story. I think that's wild.
Because I think success in the city means winning championships, and that's how it has been for 100 years.
No, success for any baseball player means putting up good numbers. And Goldie put up good numbers. What more do you want him to do? Goldschmidt had 2 bad games in the playoffs in 2022. If those 2 games are enough to keep a trade followed by a large extension for the Cardinals. If that's enough to say that was a failure, that's insane. It's 2 games. What Goldschmidt did do as a Cardinal was put up like a 135 or 140 WRC plus over 3,500 plate appearances.
I just have different expectations. And if I was a Diamondbacks fan, then I would think of Paul Goldschmidt very fondly, even though he didn't win anything. And that's like
it's so hard to win the World
Series. I think that being in this, maybe that makes me like a snob and whatever. Whatever, man. Like that's fine, but.
Goldie was robbed of a full season too because of 2020.
I guess.
Which I don't know which direction he was going with that, but
he hit like 6 homers in that year though. It was a weird year.
It was 13. He had 13 home runs. I'm pretty sure.
In 2020, no, he hit like 6.
Oh wait, no, you're right. He did.
Yeah, but he also was worth 2.1 WAR in only 60 games
because he was the only hitter on that team. And they just kept walking him. But
2.1 WAR in less than 60 games. A lot of those games were 7-inning games, and he was playing twice a day.
Yeah, I know. I remember that season was weird. I don't know. Like
it was weirder for the Cardinals than anybody too.
Yeah, it was.
All right.
And by the way, he had to hit with Johan Oviedo on the mound. So let's talk about that.
All right, let's give some letter grades. I'm gonna give Paul Goldschmidt's time in St. Louis an A.
I'm giving it an A.
I'm giving it a B plus.
Wait, a B plus?
I said it was good. I told you that I was like
that unless you win a World Series,
B plus is not a success.
I mean, like, okay, I mean, it's not like
it's my first time in Washington.
It was good because Washington is not they have won 1 championship,
but not with Brendan.
Oh man,
okay, but who cares? That's not they have No.
Let's talk about some non-successful Cardinals for sure that we can all agree on. It's Steven Matz. Oh man,
bummer of a signing.
Okay, so Nato should be moved soon. I think Yankees. We can rehash that conversation soon, but I think we've done enough Nato talk recently that we can maybe think outside that constraint a little bit here about some of the other rumors that are happening right now. I think the biggest little tidbits we've gotten as of late is that the AL Central teams in the Guardians and the Tigers have called on both Steven Matz and Erick Fedde. While on the flip side, you've got Ryan Helsley as a candidate that's been kind of shipped or that's being shopped around, or not shopped around as much, but called on from the Blue Jays and the Diamondbacks. There was a Diamondbacks radio host that replied to a fan in the Arizona area that said he had heard that the Diamondbacks tried to pry Ryan Helsley from the Cardinals and were shut down on that. So I don't know what pry means. I mean, so take that as relative, but at least it seems like the Diamondbacks' interest was real and the Cardinals have shut that down. I guess big picture, I mean, just a general question here, and then we can dive into the specifics. Outside of Arenado, Sandy, do you expect Matz, Fedde, or Helsley to be moved, or is there any other names you throw into the mix that you think will actually be moved?
If there's interest in Steven Matz, the Cardinals have to move him, and I think he should be moved.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if the Cardinals are talking about keeping Fedde, they're talking about keeping him because they want to rely on him to be a key part of the rotation next year. Maybe they think he's going to put butts in seats. I'm not sure that's true though. But for Steven Matz, if there's real interest in him and you can get rid of the money, which I don't think the $12 million he's due is a big deal, but obviously the DeWitt's due. If you can get rid of that money or bring back value in terms of young players for that, if there's anything, even a lottery ticket prospect at that point, absolutely they should make that move. And I think they have to. At this point, Steven Matz's time in St. Louis, absolutely devastating in terms of health availability. He's been good when he's on the field. Steven Matz, every year it's the same thing. He starts really slow and then he gets hurt and then he rehabs and he comes back and he gives you 2 good months and then he gets hurt and then he comes back in the bullpen. And in September, he's a solid left-handed reliever. And it's led to him in St. Louis over parts of 3 seasons, putting up a 3.76 FIP, which is really good, and if you could rely on that for 180 innings a year, that would have been an incredible signing. If Matz had given the Cardinals the volume they were hoping for after the health year he had in Toronto, it would have been an unbelievable signing in terms of value. But it's not, because he's never been on the field. And it's a mixture, there's elbow soreness. I know he's had some elbow problems, but it's also weird injuries. He took a comebacker off his shin. He took a comebacker off his knee. 2 comebacker injuries in 3 years is insane. He's only given the Cardinals 100 innings once. He gave him 105 in 2023 when he was arguably the best pitcher on the team, maybe. But whatever the case, they have to trade him if it's available. And another team should be interested in Steven Matz. I think it's a market surplus there when you're looking at what Frankie Montas, for example, just got. Steven Matz has like better numbers than Montas over the last 2 years. It's just, can he stay healthy?
Yeah.
So Fedde, I don't know if they'll trade him. And Helsley, we've had the discussion, but I'd be fine with the Cardinals not parting with him for nothing.
Yeah, I'd be surprised at this point if we don't see Steven Matz moved, right? Because like the money does seem like something they'd like to move off of, and if other teams are interested in acquiring him, again, I don't. When you say like get something, a young prospect back in return, I think you are thinking more of the lottery ticket stuff. Like I don't really think they're going to be getting anything that like, it's going to move the needle for anyone immediately. But like, I mean, even like I know it's kind of like we haven't even seen Matt Savantson yet, but the fact that he's probably going to be a bullpen piece for the Cardinals next year, and they got him for the last half of Paul DeYoung, like I think you can get something a little bit better than Matt Savantson type, and if that you end up getting a reliever that helps you in 2028 or 2029, like at this point that's helpful for the Cardinals to acquire something like that. Here's a question I have for you guys though, because I do think it's been sprinkled out there enough now that it kind of feels like it's going to happen, that if the Cardinals move on from Matz, and especially if they move on from Matz and Fedde, that they'll look to bring back Kyle Gibson. But I think even if they just move one of them, there's a chance they bring back Kyle Gibson. Before we even talk about that as a potential, how many young starters do you think the Cardinals need to prioritize playing time for next year? Because I would say McGreevy is one of them. Palante's already in the rotation, so I don't think we really need to count him. Yeah. McGreevy, and then you probably want to see what Gordon Graceffo has, unless they've already kind of thought he's a bullpen arm. It sounds like they want to give Matthew Liberatore a chance to make the rotation again, which again, he might end up in the bullpen, but like if he shows out, you got to have space. Quinn Matthews, Tink Hence, Sem Robersa, like that's 6 guys right there that like doesn't mean they're going to be good, but you kind of want to see what they have. If they right now they don't have an open rotation spot, and if they trade Steven Matz or Erick Fedde and then bring back Kyle Gibson, they also still don't have an open rotation spot for anyone to win a job. So like I don't really understand. Like there's been reporting out there that Quinn Matthews is going to have the chance to win a job out of camp, and I'm like, who's he going to win it over? Because I doubt they DFA Mikolas right away. And like, if they bring back Gibson, it's not his spot. It's not Sonny Gray's spot. It's not Andre Palante's spot. It won't be Erick Fedde's spot. So I guess that's the part that I'm kind of confused by, is that unless they plan on moving from both guys, I really don't see how you fit guys in. And I understand injuries happen, and so having multiple guys available helpful. But I just named 6 guys that you want to see innings from. And unless some of them are already pigeonholed as bullpen arms, I just think it's kind of, I don't know. Do you guys agree or disagree with that? Like, I like Kyle Gibson, and I think if you move both guys, it kind of makes sense to bring him back. But like, if they send out Steven Matz here soon and re-sign Kyle Gibson, I mean, the whole idea of letting the kids play, the only way a kid plays in the rotation is if someone gets hurt. And I think that's kind of a weird strategy when you've got 3 high-level guys in high-level, like, okay, so 2 elite guys in Quinn and Tink that you really want to see at some point. But you don't need to rush them, though. Michael McGreevy, who clearly just needs to get into the rotation now. And then you've got Sem, Gordon Graceffo, Matthew Liberatore, Zach Thompson, guys like that are lower end guys. Like, I just think there's plenty of names that you don't need to bring in another rotation piece. Andrew, like, agree with that, disagree with that?
I just think you should trade all of them. Like, I've been pretty consistent with that. You should just move both Matz, Fedde, and then get what you can from Mikolas or just cut him. Like, I think that's pretty simple. And then you add Gibson back, so you have Gray, Gibson, Palante, McGreevy, and then you have an open spot. And I think that's totally fine. If somebody gets hurt, then I don't know. Like I would be comfortable signing another starter as well, just to fill it out. And then once the inevitable injury does happen, then we have enough space for another guy, and like you can test as many guys as you want in that spot. But I think all 3 of those veteran guys not named Sonny Gray should be on the move this offseason. I just don't know if I just don't think that's going to happen. And it's a little bit frustrating, but yeah, I don't know. Like they seem stuck in their ways again and like not trying to make these kinds of moves. And it's frustrating, but I don't know. Maybe they really do think that they can win. And if they do, then they're crazy, but whatever.
What do you think, Sandy?
I think they'd be stupid not to trade them. I just don't understand. I don't understand. Like, I think they need to trade them, but I think they need to trade them for a different reason than they think they need to trade them. Like, am I making sense there?
Yeah.
So like the front office seems very preoccupied with shedding salary, and I get like trying to move off the Arenado money or something,
which that's an ownership thing, right? Like the front office at the end of the day doesn't really care. It's ownership.
I don't want to get my messaging wrong here.
No, but like I think it's the front office is preoccupied with that, but it's because of ownership.
Correct. But like, why on earth are we so desperate to move Fedde $7 million? And if you're trying to move it, please don't frame it as a salary dump. Please frame it as we have this guy who is probably a $15 million a year pitcher, at least, who is only being paid $7 million. And that's a huge market surplus. And so other teams should be paying us significant prospects to acquire a very strong number 2 or number 3 starter. Whereas the Cardinals seem to be framing it as, yeah, we have this old guy who we don't want to pay. And I hate that. I think it's terrible messaging. I think it probably kills their leverage. I just think it's stupid. So I'm not a fan of that.
Here, so okay, let's play the numbers game because I think it's probably worth us talking it out loud to see. Okay, so Adam brings a good point. Like, there's probably no chance that like McGreevy. I mean, maybe McGreevy gets more than 140 innings, but like Quinn, Tink, maybe even
Tink's not going to get you.
Tink's not getting 140 innings. Sam's probably not going to get that. Graceffo, like, okay, that's fair. And then you do have to account for the injuries. But okay, so like I think there's 5-6 guys potentially that could give you rotation spots next year, right? It's let's go through them again. It's McGree. So like, or let's pencil in that Gray's going to be there, Mikolas is going to be there, Palante is going to be there. That's 3. And let's say they keep one of Matz or Fedde right now, because I think they'll move one. I don't know if they'll move both.
Trade both of them and then pay Gibson to come back.
Here's the problem with paying one of them paying or trading one of them, paying Gibson to come back, because then you have 5 rotation spots locked up, and you're waiting for injuries to happen to give other guys chances. Which again, injuries will happen.
No, trade both of them, and then.
But like, I think McGreevy should already just have a rotation spot at this point.
I agree with that.
And if it fails, whatever, because you're not really trying. I mean, I know that they kind of want to contend this year, but like, I'd rather put my eggs in the figure out what I have in these guys' basket and hopefully contend at the same time than like not.
Kareem makes a good point here. I like this. So what if you could trade Fedde, throw Matz into the pen if McGreevy wins the spot, and then trade Matz after spring training if McGreevy wins the spot and pitches well, or trade Matz at the deadline if he's a good reliever. Because Steven Matz at $12 million, that's expensive for a guy who's not going to be your closer. But if you're trading him at the deadline and if he's been like an elite lefty setup option, which like he's got the stuff to do that. He's got the stuff to be a really good setup man from the left side. The prorated salary for after the deadline is like $3 million. Like, I don't think teams would be afraid, especially like good teams. If Matz is pitching really well, I don't think anyone would be afraid to say, yeah, I'll take on a $3 million reliever for the rest of the season who might help me in the playoffs.
Yeah. And you also have Sonny Gray around who's like interested in the idea of mentoring young pitchers. So like, I do like Kyle Gibson for the young pitchers in the clubhouse, but Sonny Gray's already going to be there for that. I mean, I don't know what Miles Mikolas does, but hopefully he's open to that too.
I'm sure he is. It's tough with Miles.
I hope so. But then like the Steven Matz side of it, I totally agree, because like, I don't think the Cardinals would be afraid to say Quinn Matthews has beat out Steven Matz for a rotation spot, or Michael McGreevy or whoever. I do think they wouldn't do that Kyle Gibson though. Like, I don't think they bring back Kyle Gibson and they're like, oh, Kyle Gibson, you're going to the bullpen. It's like,
no, they would not do that. Gibson starts if he comes.
He's also like not a reliever, so
true.
Like,
and also there is the scenario here where like they get to June and Mikolas is just bad, and Quinn Matthews is tearing it up in Memphis, and they DFA Mikolas and bring up Quinn. So I guess I'm a little bit afraid.
They don't have to DFA Mikolas. Quinn is. Oh wait, no, is he? No, Tink is on the 40-man. Quinn
Tink's on, Quinn's not. Or like insert Tink's name, whoever.
Well, the problem with Mikolas is you can't put him in the bullpen.
I mean, you could.
Can you send him? Like, what if you? Do you think he would be like DeYoung and accept an option?
No.
I think you'd cut him. Or like, everyone needs pitching, right? So like, I mean, you could probably salary dump him mid-season to someone that's
if
like
Dallas Keuchel can get multiple jobs.
Keuchel went to NPB after that, so
yeah, but he did get shots.
Well, maybe Mikolas can go back to the Giants, the Yoemuri Giants.
I do think ideal world is they move Fedde, because you can actually get something returned from him. Matt's whatever, but I like, to Kareem's point, he makes sense as an insurance option where like if they get out of spring and they're like, man, like throwing any of these young starters would be a bad idea because Like it just would not be good for their development. Then you could throw Matz into the rotation, assuming he's not the one who got hurt, which he very well could have. But I don't know. I guess it's so hard to know because I don't really know how serious they are about Matthew Liberatore as an option. But if he is like a serious contender, then you do have to. And I mean, I like what he's done on the bullpen, but like he's got the talent that you need to seriously consider. You need to give him a real chance if you're going to give him a chance. And if you're going to do that and do that for Quinn and do that for McGreevy, I'd say those are the three guys out of camp that could actually win a job. There's not enough jobs to go around right now if they actually pitch well. So that's where I'm a little weird. It seems like they're clearing the decks on the position player side for young players to play. But on the rotation, it's like kind of. So that's where it's just
really hard. But it's really hard because, like, again, if you clear space for these guys to get into the rotation, and let's say the rotation is Sonny Gray, Palante, McGreevy. Let's say they give Matthews a shot, which I think would be crazy out of spring training. I'd rather have Matthews. I don't know.
Wouldn't do it.
Like, if he looks good.
If he looked great, I'd still like to see Matthews pitch in AAA for the first half. He did not have success in AAA.
It was bad.
Well, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. He's a guy that jumped 4 levels in 1 year. Like,
how old do you think Quinn Matthews is?
No, I know it's not bad. I'm just saying, like
24.
24, and he's an advanced college pitcher. Like, and we haven't even mentioned like Cooper Jerpy yet, or Takeo Roby, guys like that too that could have a chance. Again, I don't like right now. If you ask me, is Quinn Matthews going to make the opening day rotation? I'm saying no, and I also don't really think he should. But if he goes to the camp and they're like, this guy belongs, then I also like, I mean, if you want to put him in AAA for a month, that's fine. But like, I guess I'm afraid of the scenario where he's just sitting in AAA throwing you innings, and it's different than a hitter down there. Like, I don't want to waste bullets on a guy's arm in AAA. Like, if he's ready, bring him up to the major leagues, especially if you're like trying to pseudo contend.
I guess it's just hard for me because I feel like I would like to see him get acclimated to the advanced minors.
Yeah, that's fair. But then, like, okay, so like, what about Graceffo? Like, does Graceffo need to sit in the AAA rotation again? I mean, maybe it's not. I
just don't know if Graceffo is like a viable option.
I don't either. But like, I'd rather. I want to see what he has at some point. Maybe he's in the bullpen or maybe the rotation. But
the other thing, as bad as Mikolas is, right? Like, Miles Mikolas can give you 6 innings and give up 4 runs, which, like,
yeah,
does that keep you in the game? Kind of.
Oh no,
yeah.
Not this again.
Oh.
No, seriously. Like, Mikolas gets a lot of hate because the numbers look really bad.
They're horrible.
They are bad. The numbers are bad. I'm not saying the numbers aren't bad, but like, Mikolas rarely knocks you out of a game in the first inning. And in a game where Mikolas does knock you out of the game by being terrible, at least he covers some innings.
How many games has he knocked? He knocked us out at least 4 or 5 games last year.
I don't know if it was that many.
It was.
Like, Lance Lynn knocked the Cardinals out of a couple of games. That game in Washington was so bad.
That was like the only one. And there was like another one, but like
the appeal of Mikolas for me next year is that you don't have to throw a young guy in there. But I guess that I don't think there's a scenario where they're going to be like, oh, Quinn's not ready, but we have to do it, or Tink's not ready, but we have to do it. Like, I mean, maybe there is, but at that point, I'm like, you're not a good team then, so I don't think it matters. But like, I just think there's plenty. Like, I guess, and maybe I'm splitting hairs here, but like, when are you ever going to see what you have in Semper Bursa, Zach Thompson, Gordon Graceffo, like these lower tier guys that you're like, maybe you're back rotation guys? But like, okay, and we'll see. But like, I would rather see Zach Thompson.
I'd like to see Semper Bursa. I'd like to see him.
And so maybe that's their chances out of the bullpen next year. And like, that's less like, I'm not going to throw my hands up in the air if Semper Bursa has to pitch out of the bullpen next year compared to like if they did that to Quinn Matthews or Tink Hence. Well, maybe not Tink Hence, but like guys like that. I'm just like, at some point, like whenever they're ready to give Robersa a shot, it's probably be Quinn Matthews' turn, or it's going to be Michael McGreevy's turn. So it's just like, I don't know. I'm not.
That's understandable.
So maybe I'm splitting hairs here. It is a little weird to me that they might move a couple of veteran starters and then bring on another veteran starter and say they're creating opportunities for young starters when like their rotation is going to be made up of one young starter unless a guy gets hurt. Like, it's Palante and maybe McGreevy, but probably not.
It's gotta be McGreevy. Please be McGreevy.
But right now they don't have a spot for McGreevy. And even if they move one guy, as long as they bring back Kyle Gibson, I guess my thing is I think they're going to bring back Kyle Gibson too, which then it's like, okay, well, now you don't have a shot for McGreevy. Like, what's the deal here? So I don't know. I guess hopefully they're very like ready to pull the trigger on Mikolas being let go of, because then I think that creates the extra spot there. I'm just afraid that they're going to be like, oh, Mikolas are paying him. So
you know what I would do with Mikolas this year? It would never happen, and they would never do it. But if I was the Cardinals,
make him a hitter.
No. Mikolas, every time the Cardinals were down by more than 5 runs, Mikolas would just finish the game every single time. So if the Cardinals go down 5-0 in the 3rd inning, it's like, maybe I don't bring in Mikolas yet, but if they're down 5-0 in the 5th, like, it's Mikolas time, and he finishes the game. If the Cardinals go down 8-1,
he has like 8 straight appearances.
Oh, dude, I would let him pitch 350 innings because I would tell him, just try not to get hurt. Like, guys used to do this all the time. You're a Bulldog. Mikolas never gets hurt, right? I would let him play every day if the Cardinals were losing every day.
Could you imagine?
The funniest looking numbers.
There'd be like 2 starters in baseball who eclipse 200, and you look at the leaderboard, and Miles Mikolas is sitting there at 350.
Dude, it'd be the best thing ever, and it'd be so smart for the Cardinals. Analytically, this is a brilliant move. Okay, if Mikolas pitches every time the game ends, you never waste anybody. Literally, never wait.
How about this? Convert Mikolas into a 2-way player, so you get an extra reliever, and then do that with him, and he never bats.
Oh, that's smart.
Like what they did with Michael Lorenzen.
That could happen. Oh my god!
And then just like get rid of Jose Fermin because he doesn't matter.
Jose Fermin.
Does Mikolas also become the emergency catcher in my situation? Of course he does.
Probably.
Mikolas could just do all the things no one wants to do, and it'd be great. And then $18 million, if you're paying a guy that much to pitch 350 innings, no matter how bad the innings are, that's great value.
Yeah. Oh man. I guess, yeah, maybe you guys have talked me out of my frustration with it. I just think I'm forecasting a future where it's June 2nd. Quinn Matthews is clearly ready to pitch in the big league rotation, and we're sitting here banging our heads because Miles Mikolas has a 6.2 ERA and they won't move on from him. But I also think there's a world where they go, okay, like we talked about earlier, like Dallas Keuchel found like 18 jobs, like those type J.A. Happ, Wade LeBlanc. Like I think they can release Mikolas and let him latch on with a team that has decimated by pitching injuries, or maybe, and this is if he's pitching kind of well, like I'm not saying like a 3 ERA guy, but like is like fine enough that they can get a team to take on like all but $3 million. They save $3 million of his salary because they ate like that much, or they ate most of it. The other team's going to pay the last couple million, and they make a little, and then they can move some of those young arms up. I know they're not going to move on from him now. I just think they have to, right, be open to it in the season. And at that point, then I'm totally fine holding on to him, because then he gives you an insurance option of like all these young guys need time in AAA, and you don't have to force them into the rotation because you have open spots. Again, I'm just afraid that they're going to hold on to it too long.
Mikolas, 15 quality starts last year. I used to reference that number, and then Andrew made fun of me too much.
Yeah, because quality starts, you can you can pitch a quality start every single time and still have like a 4.5 ERA.
Yeah, but that version of a 4.5 ERA is actually pretty good because you win a lot of quality starts.
Not if your lineup is terrible, but
well, yeah, but we also didn't think the Cardinals were going to have the worst lineup ever and the least clutch lineup we've ever seen.
Yeah, it's in a weird way. Maybe this now we're getting really nitty in the nitty gritty here. Like in a sense, Miles Mikolas's starts last year, you could argue, were almost more valuable than Lance Lynn at times, because like Lynn was going really short in the games, even when he was pitching well. And then he also would have games where he had like 2, maybe 3 starts where he got pulled in like the 2nd or 3rd inning and pitched poorly, which that hurts the bullpen. At least with Mikolas, usually when he didn't pitch well, he would still go into the 6th, 7th inning or like get into the 6th inning. So at least it like saved your bullpen some. The worst thing is when you have a guy that like gets knocked down the 2nd or 3rd inning. Like that's what was so detrimental to the 2023 Cardinals, is that you have like Jake Woodford, Drew Rom, and a lot of that stuff happened in the second half. But still, like when you have guys that are so bad that they can't even get out of the 3rd inning, that kills you. At least like with Mikolas, he can give you some length. So like when you're losing the game, you're not losing the bullpen that day.
Dude, that's my Mikolas plan. Okay, Miles Mikolas comes in and pitches 7 innings after that.
That's the argument for him as a 5th starter on a team with very low aspirations. No, we're not like saying, or like on a team that like desperately needs innings. Not at all. At least I'm not making the case that we should be glazing Miles Mikolas right now.
If Mikolas gets the start and the Cardinals are losing big, he just pitches the whole game. Complete game.
Honestly.
12. No, I actually last year when they would pull Mikolas with like when the game was sort of out of hand, if it's like 4-0 or something in the 6th, and the Cardinals would pull Mikolas and put in like an actual reliever, I'd get so mad. I was like, why not just let him stay out there? What is the reason? Mikolas isn't going to get hurt. He's got a rubber arm, okay? He's just going to pitch. He's going to throw 80 more pitches at 86 miles an hour, and it's batting practice, but who cares, right? And my mom is superstitious about this kind of stuff, and she believes that teams have a limited number of runs. She would never verbalize this, but I think she really does think there's a limited number of runs that you can score. And so she's always talking about people wasting their runs in blowouts. It's kind of funny. And I was like,
it does feel like though, like when the Cardinals score like 12 runs
absolutely.
the next day, score.
The bats are silent.
But I just beat the Rockies 22-3, and they lost the series.
Wait, I do remember that.
Or something like that. That was horrible.
Hold up. Do you know how they say the home run derby messes up hitters' timing?
Yeah, but Albert Pujols.
Mikolas comes in and tosses BP. Mikolas comes in
at a game
1 mile an hour
series.
Yes. Screws up everyone's timing, and then the next day it's a guaranteed win.
That's brilliant.
Dude,
Sandy just doesn't want Shohei Ohtani to have the 6-for-6 record anymore.
This Mikolas discussion has to be a metaphor for the state of the Cardinals. It is, guys. It is December 22nd. The hot stove cannot be as hot as ever, and we are sitting here talking about Miles Mikolas. Like,
I'm telling you, my plan is brilliant. It'd be the funniest thing ever. Miles Mikolas somehow gives up 80 homers in a season, but he also pitches 400 innings.
Yeah, I do think like a couple good points in here. Like when he's on the money. My dad's right. I feel like Mikolas, like
he's just like this hard contact is just going to the right fielders. Like that's what happened.
Andrew, that's crazy because Mikolas is giving the Cardinals like solid production.
I think there were like, I mean, there was an Arizona start. I mean, like I'm making it sound right now like he had 1 or 2 good starts in the year. There were actually a decent amount of good starts he had last year. It's just the bad outweighs the good for Miles Mikolas.
I mean, I'm going through this, and Mikolas only gave up more than 6 runs once.
Really?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Was that the Reds game?
More than 6 earned runs.
It was the Reds game, wasn't it?
One time. It was the Reds game. There was another game where he gave up 6 runs in got pulled in the 3rd. So like that's really bad. But that was also in September in Seattle, and the Cardinals were done. There was another game where he gave up 6 runs, but he pitched 7 innings. So like take the good with the bad.
So he gave up 6 runs more than once. He just like.
Well, I said more than 6. He only gave up more than 6 one time. Lance Lynn gave up more than 6 runs 3 times.
I like this one. From BNSF fan David, is Mikolas the pitching version of Mo? Sometimes excellent and other times infuriating.
Mikolas doesn't dress like a Bond villain, but he kind of looks like some sort of villain. I don't know.
He does. And then also like he like embodies the old way of doing things, and like he always like doesn't take accountability for things. So I'm like, it does kind of feel like him and Mo are like cut from the same cloth. But
yeah, Mikolas
that is the thing that sorry, go ahead.
He was consistently like just below average. Like looking through the game logs, there are very few games in here. There's definitely 2 games where I look at them like, oh yeah, the Cardinals were out of that one before it started because of Mikolas. For the most part though, Mikolas like kept him kind of in it. And it was like, oh, if the offense had been good that day, they would have won.
Yeah.
The Cardinals also like won a lot of games he pitched in. They were 10-11 in games, or 16-16 in games Mikolas pitched in. Like they were perfectly 500 in Mikolas' starts.
Here's to Chris's point, like he can't listen to Mo. I can't listen to Mikolas talk because whenever Mikolas has a bad start, he always is like, well, there's just a little bit of soft contact that got me, and like I actually pitched really well today. I was just really unlucky, and it's like
executed perfectly.
Like,
can I share my favorite Miles Mikolas story?
Oh, of course.
So this past season when the Dodgers were in town, I was trying to get some of my friends to go watch Shohei with me, and they wanted to go to one of the games and told me to pick a game where Shohei would do well. And the 3 pitchers were Mikolas, Palante, and Sonny Gray. And I picked the Mikolas start because I was like, yeah, he'll hit a homer off Mikolas, and Ohtani went 0 for 4 and homered in each of the next 2 games. So there you go.
Maybe that's why you hate Mikolas so much.
No, I just he's
Team
just
USA starter Miles Mikolas.
Team USA really like gave him the short end of the stick though, because he was like good the year before and they didn't let him pitch in meaningful innings.
Yeah, Mark DeRosa must have watched him pitch and been like, "Oh boy, Cardinals fans don't know what's coming to them this year." mean, he was right. What do you have, like a 5.5 ERA last year in 2023? I think it's a little better than that.
But he wasn't even the third worst starter on the team that year.
Yeah.
Mikolas this year at a 5.3.
That is something low-key, like, or not low-key, high-key I'm looking forward to, and maybe we can end on this a little bit, and we just briefly talked about the unarms. Like 2023 and honestly 2024, like, we're frustrating because you just consistently were watching guys you kind of don't know, are not going to have a long-term future in St. Louis in the pitching side of things. And like even in 2023 when young guys got a chance, like the most exciting young starter we got to watch was Zach Thompson. This year we should see Quinn Matthews, we should see Michael McGreevy, Palante again. I think at some point Team Kent's, if Cooper Jerpy stays healthy, or Takeo Roby, like those are arms that could finally make the rotation at some point too. Like we're gonna see the next generation of young Cardinal pitching come up, and they're like actually, like, again, not saying like all these guys are gonna be aces or anything. Like honestly, I don't even think any of them have the upside for number one. Like I think Tank and Quinn, you're like have the top upside of like a number 2 starter or number 3 starter type. But like these are guys that you can actually dream on rather than DrewRom.com or Jake Woodford.
I feel like Cardinals fans talk about Quinn Matthews like he's going to be Paul Skeens, though, and I don't know. I don't know. That's the vibe I get. I feel like people are going to be.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I don't see anyone talking about Quinn Matthews as like.
Or they're just like so excited for Quinn Matthews, and like we don't know.
What's wrong with being excited about somebody?
They should be. Like minor league pitcher of the year. I think he's the only. What do you have? 200 Ks last year.
He led all of minor league baseball.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying you guys are picturing him as a number 2 starter. I feel like a lot of Cardinal fans are going to be disappointed when they find out that he's not a number 1 starter. But
that's fair. I mean, I think honestly, a lot of people do that where they're like, "Oh, McGreevy's a number 2, number 3. Tink Hens and Quinn are surefire number 1s," and I'm like, man, like surefire. Like, let's calm down there. But
yeah, how many guys though in the last like 5 years around all of baseball have come up and people have said they're surefire number 1 starters?
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a high bar. Like at this point, there are only, and like a lot of teams will have, I mean, every team has 5 starters, right? But a lot of number 1s on teams are not like number 1 starters. At any given point in time, there's like 10 aces in baseball.
Yeah, see, that's the other part of it too, where it's like even earlier when we were talking about Paul Goldschmidt and like how successful he is, it's like he's a top 20 hitter in baseball. Like statistically, that means you're good enough to be the best hitter on
at least 10 teams.
Yeah, at least 10 teams. But I mean, that was also including 2 really down years from him in that stretch. Like, but like my point is like sometimes people are like, "Oh, Sonny Gray, he's like clearly number 3 or number 4," and it's like maybe on the most stacked rotations he is, but like for most teams, he's going to be their number 1 or number 2, and rightfully so.
In Cy Young voting 2 years ago, he's not. He's not a number 3.
But like even like I thought he was a low end 1. Maybe he's more of a 2. That's fine. But like I think sometimes you're like I think there's an ace. And then there's like a front line. Like I don't like number 1, number 2. I like front line starters. Like if you be a guy that pitches game 1, game 2, maybe game 3.
Yeah, like Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola is not a true ace.
But yeah, he's really a front line guy.
Starter, just like Sonny Gray is.
And then like Skeens is an ace. Like that dude, like he's a stopper.
Well,
like,
how many aces are there at any point in time? Like right now, there's Garrett Cole, there's Paul Skeens, there's Zach Wheeler.
Yeah. And like when was the last time the Cardinals even had like, I mean, Jack Flaherty 2019 was the closest to that.
Yeah, Jack Flaherty in 2019 was an ace. But like he didn't enter the last time the Cardinals entered a season with an ace, like prime Waino.
Yeah. But even that, like, I don't think, and yeah, I agree with Kareem. I don't think Matthews has ace upside. I think he has like a number 2 starter, right? Like our front, like a low end frontline starter type upside. But if Quinn Matthews ends up being a 3 or a 4, I agree with Kareem here. Like that is miles better than what the Cardinals have produced in a long time. And having a like Bryce, I guess Bryce Miller is really good last year, and Brian, but like even before last year when Bryce Miller and Brian Wu had really good years, like they were super valuable starters because they're cost controlled back end of the rotation guys with upside. That's like what Quinn Matthews could be next year, and the Cardinals haven't had that since Jack Flaherty really.
Well, a lot of aces like become aces after a few years at the big league level, and you don't project that growth. Like the vast majority of guys that become real aces at the MLB level, like they're highly touted prospects, they're top 100 guys sometimes, but like that's like look at Zach Wheeler's career evolution. Zach Wheeler came up and like kind of struggled with the Yankees, struggled enough that at the very end of his rookie contract with them, they wanted to trade him just for Harrison Bader. You know, like that's not a trade you make for an ace, no matter how much like control he has left.
Yeah.
He's become an ace. You unlock something else. You continue to grow as a big league player. You can't really project that with anybody except like the greatest prospects ever. And even those guys, like you look at Steven Strasburg, he never truly became an ace. He was a frontline starter for a few years. I would argue Strasburg was never a top 5 to 10 pitcher in baseball. Never won a Cy Young.
I think he had stretches like that, but he would get hurt.
He had stretches, but he had so many injury issues.
Yeah. But like he was still like talent.
Oh,
that's why I like Baseball America like very rarely gives like the 75 grade to a player. And when they have like I think they were on the Derek Gould's podcast when he had Pontes on, like he was reflecting on the guys that gave 75 grades to, and it would be like Julio Rodriguez, Ronald Acuna Jr., Bobby Witt, Vlad. Like they don't miss. Like they are like, we only are going to say this guy is actually like a true legit guy when like they're actually going to be that way. Otherwise, most of these guys are giving grades that are a little bit, I mean, they're not conservative because most guys don't pan out, but they might end up being a little conservative for these guys, but it's because most guys aren't going to do anything. And then the reason we don't talk much about Tink Hence, Eric, right now is like Tink's, I think, just got so much variance. Like we'll see what happens. Oh gosh. We'll see what happens with Tink's arm long term. And like, does he have the durability to be even a starting pitcher? He definitely has. I don't know. I mean, between him and Quinn Matthews, I think he probably is the better stuff. But I would give Quinn Matthews I just gave Quinn Matthews edge right now because I don't think it's that far off of Tink, and he's got the durability right now. Like he's a swing and miss machine who's also kind of a rubber arm. Which Tink Hence, you're like, can this guy even throw 100 innings? But
yeah, it's a huge concern.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at Strasburg right now, and the numbers are good, but it's like he was only a Cy Young finalist one time, and like it's still a really impressive career, but the injuries were so bad, and then the way it ended was so devastating.
Yeah,
70 grade criminal is crazy.
Man. Honestly, I was like, I don't know how much we have to talk about today, but we really covered the gambit.
We fill our time.
We fill our time.
Mikolas to the bullpen talk.
I can always I'm telling you right now, Kareem, like, let me know if this is stupid, but why can't Miles Mikolas throw every non-competitive inning the team has this year? Why not?
This is why you'll never work in a front office.
No, I actually think that this would be so smart. And I really do believe that a team that's actually willing to try it and give it a shot would benefit significantly if they like went through with it all year.
Because eventually he will get hurt. Dakota Hudson got Tommy John surgery.
And then when that guy gets hurt, pick up the equivalent of him who a team has dropped. Dallas Keuchel could have done it. Like if you've got teams like the Dodgers that are willing to throw out, that's fine. That's fine. Like I get the young guys getting innings thing, but like look at the Dodgers who are pitching position players all the time because they're like don't want to waste their bullpen. Why not just have one?
No, they just let Brent Honeywell like throw 3 innings and then leave him off the World Series roster.
Yeah, I would do that to guys. I would do that to Mikolas. I don't know. I don't know if I want like some young guys pitching in completely non-competitive scenarios though too.
But like if it's to give opportunity, it's better
That's
than.
Fine. Graceffo.
I think if I were Ollie, I would do that if I'm forced to use Miles. I don't know if I'm like as a front office being like, "Ooh, our $18.5 million dud.
So
Let's just make sure he leads the league in appearances next year." It'd
be hilarious.
I'd rather see Graceffo. Oh man!
Anytime the Cardinals are up by 7 or down by 5, Mikolas is in the game.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyways, we really appreciate everyone tuning in today. As always, like and subscribe. It helps the channel a ton. Subscribe for more Cardinals content. We'll probably won't be going live before next weekend with with Christmas and all that, unless maybe there's a Nolan Arenado trade or some significant news. But otherwise, we really appreciate all the support as always. Again, like and subscribe. Check out Underdog Fantasy and use our code CARDS for a free first-time pick and also an deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. And check out 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles. Let us know your Miles Mikolas takes on Twitter. What do you think the Cardinals should do with him? Should he lead the league in innings and appearances like Sandy said? Yes. Or should he be shot into the moon like Kareem said? Or something in between? Whatever you think. Anyways, we always appreciate the support. We'll be back whether it's after Christmas or before if something crazy happens. But yeah, see you guys next time.
Thanks.